Bienvenidos a la tercera clase de este curso de inglés intermedio completamente gratis. I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to receive notifications. And of course, you can join our Facebook group where you can download all of the resources that I use during my classes. Today, we are going to study the past continuous, affirmative and negative. Then we are going to look at past continuous for stories. We are also going to look at used to and would for solía. And finally, we are going to combine all three of those things in one text. Let's begin. So first of all, we're going to look at past continuous, affirmative and negative. Now, you know what past is. We've studied past in pre-intermediate level. And you know what the word continuous means because, for example, last class we looked at present perfect continuous. So let's begin. Okay, so in class 1 of the second level, pre-intermedio, we looked at present continuous. This is present continuous, right? We looked at she is cooking her breakfast right now. Its subject, it's the verb be in present, so is, are, or am, and the verb ing, right? We also looked at the 20 most common verbs in their ing form, right? So that we could make a combination. For example, you are saying something, or I am having a party, for example. All of this we studied in 201. This stuff is going to be very useful today. Va a ser muy útil hoy, porque vamos a ocupar otra vez los verbos ing. We're going to be using the ing verbs again today, okay? So this stuff that we learned before is going to be useful again. So this was present continuous, right? This is the formula for present continuous. We are studying English right now. Estamos estudiando inglés ahorita mismo. So for past continuous, the only change is that the verb be, instead of being am, are, or is now was or were for the past, okay? For example, we were watching Netflix yesterday. Estábamos viendo Netflix ayer. And that's it. That's the past continuous. I'm going home. No. So, we were watching Netflix yesterday. Estaba preparando la comida. I was making lunch. In Spanish, you can also say preparaba la comida. I was making lunch. In English would be the same translation, okay? Preparaba is imperfecto in español. Remember that in Spanish you have those two past tenses. Hablamos de eso cuando vimos pasado. You have the preterite, pretérito, for example, preparé, and you have the imperfecto, which is preparaba, okay? Which basically means the same thing as estaba preparando, right? Or preparaba is the same thing. Pretérito in English is past simple. For example, I went, he did, we had, etc. And imperfecto in English is basically the past continuous, what we're studying today, okay? So, hablábamos, we were talking. Right? Íbamos, we were going. Okay? So if you want to translate estaba preparando or preparaba, you would say I was making lunch. In class 201, we looked at this. Describimos qué está pasando en el parque ahorita mismo, right? So we could say, for example, a man is singing, right? A man is singing in the present continuous. So now, vamos a imaginar, we're going to imagine that this was yesterday, okay? Vamos a imaginar que esto fue ayer. So you would say, for example, a man was singing, right? Or a spaceship was flying. Or, I don't know, two men, it's plural, so two men were fighting, right? Pretty simple. Past continuous is very, very similar to present continuous. It's simple. Yesterday at the park, a woman was sitting on a chair and texting. Okay, there she is. A woman was sitting on a chair and texting. So it's very simple. If you want to, you can make some more sentences and leave them in the comments or on the Facebook group. But let's continue. So the formula, subject, was or were, and the verb ing. Remember, I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were, right? And then we have that big list. Remember the list of all of the verbs, INGs? Remember that we talked about stative and dynamic verbs? So some of these are stative, okay? For example, know is stative in English. So we don't say I was knowing. If you want to say estaba conociendo en el sentido de que estaba conociendo a alguien, you would say getting to know, right? Remember, know is stative, so we can't use it in continuous tense. Think, it depends on the context. Have, it depends on the context. Okay, for example, having a party, having a fight is dynamic. Have a car, have a dog is not dynamic. Estábamos teniendo un perro, pues tampoco en español se escucha bien, ¿verdad? Find, encontrar. In English, for example, it's momentary. Encontrar es el momento de encontrar algo. Encontrando no se dice en inglés, recuerdan. Igual, want, querer, queriendo en el sentido de desear o querer algo. En inglés se escucha muy extraño decir I was wanting coffee. Yo quería un café, I wanted a coffee, okay? Some of these verbs we only use in the preterite or simple past form. We don't use the ing form very often, okay? It's odd, se escucha raro. So these are the 20 most common verbs in English, okay, in their ing form. So Ana de Armas was coming to my house. Ana de Armas venía a mi casa, o Ana de Armas estaba viniendo a mi casa. My dog was having a siesta. My dog was having a siesta. That's also fine. So here's another example. Here's Greg. Yesterday, Greg was painting a fence, right? Greg was painting a fence. There he is, painting a fence. He was painting a fence. Negative, we're going to change the was or the were for a wasn't or a weren't. Okay, for example, Greg wasn't painting a fence. All right, imagine this is not true. Greg wasn't painting a fence. Question, well, we're going to use was or were. We're going to change the order of the verb to be and the subject. And if you want to, you can add a question word. Okay, for example, was Greg painting a fence? All right, was Greg painting a fence? And then a question word, maybe we could say, for example, ¿Qué hacía? What was Greg doing? What was Greg doing? All right, so there you have affirmative, you have negative, you have questions. Don't forget, we studied in the first class of this level tag questions. You can say, Greg was painting a fence, wasn't he? Remember, you can use the auxiliary verb. If it's affirmative, then the tag question is negative, right? Greg was painting a fence, wasn't he? Greg wasn't painting a fence, was he? Same question, different organization. Greg wasn't painting a fence, was he? Negative here, so affirmative in the tag question. Okay, let's do an exercise. Go to point number 1 in the description to open the activity. So this is what the page looks like. If you scroll down, it says, put the verbs into the correct form, and they're all going to be past progressive, okay? And again, I'm using the word continuous, but other people say progressive. When I phoned my friends, they were playing Monopoly. Yesterday at 6, I was preparing dinner, okay? The kids is they, so it's they were. The kids were playing. Finish the activity and I'll see you in a moment. I hope that went well. Let's continue. So we looked at past continuous, affirmative and negative, but now we're going to look at past continuous for stories. Basically, past continuous is normally used to describe what was happening when something more important happened, okay? ¿Qué pasaba cuando algo más importante pasó? All right? It's for telling stories. So here's an example from the activity we just finished, right? When I called my friends, they were playing Monopoly. Or organized a different way, my friends were playing Monopoly when I called. So basically, we use the past continuous to describe ¿qué hacías? O ¿qué hacían los demás cuando algo pasó? Right? Something more important, an interruption. So look here at this timeline. We're looking at yesterday, a continuous action, walking in the park. Okay? And there was an interruption. I fell, me caí. So walking, boom, I fell, right? Me caí. So I was walking, estaba caminando o caminaba cuando algo pasó, ¿verdad? Cuando me caí, when I fell. So I was walking in the park when I fell. So we use the past continuous to like describe the scene of a story when something else important happened in past simple. I was walking in the park when I fell and hurt my arm. I fell and hurt my arm when or while I was walking in the park. Two different ways of saying the same thing. One continuous action in the past that was interrupted by another action. So following the example at the bottom of the screen, you can see here 4 pictures of something that was happening and then something else interrupted. Okay? Algo pasaba o estaba pasando cuando algo más interrumpió. Okay, so have a look. The first picture, there's a guy, he's in a shower. The pronoun that I've asked you to use is I. So imagine that you're this guy. I was, ¿qué hacía él cuando algo más pasó? Example, I was taking a shower when my friend called me, okay? So he was taking a shower when an interruption happened. I'm going to give you some seconds to stop the video and you can complete the examples for this picture, and this picture down here. Okay? 3, 2, 1, here are the answers. He was playing soccer when he broke his leg. So the continuous action was soccer. He was playing soccer and then the interruption, bang, he broke his leg. She was shopping when this guy, a thief, stole her purse. And this guy, what was he doing? He was walking his dog. He was walking the dog when he saw, cuando vio, when he saw, or when a spaceship appeared, right? When a spaceship appeared or when he saw a spaceship. So to continue, here are some sentences and they have 2 verbs in them and I want you to select. One is past and one is past continuous. Complete these sentences selecting the correct option. I will help you with the first one, okay? The boy walked or was walking in the park when I saw or I was seeing him. Okay, I wasn't seeing him because that's like dating. So that's going to be saw, so this one must be continuous. The boy was walking in the park when I saw him. El niño caminaba en el parque cuando yo lo vi. Or estaba caminando en el parque. He was walking in the park. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to stop the video if you want to do these activities. Okay, because here are the answers. 3, 2, 1. I was watching TV when you called. I was watching TV when you called. Or of course it can be when you called, I was watching TV. It doesn't really matter. Estaba viendo la televisión cuando llamaste. I saw an offensive post when I was checking my Facebook. Vi una publicación ofensiva cuando checaba, mientras checaba mi Facebook. When I was checking my Facebook. We were traveling across Mexico when we saw a chupacabras. We were traveling in England, we use double L, but okay, American English, traveling. We were traveling across Mexico when we saw the chupacabras. And I fell off my horse because I was texting on my cell phone, like in the picture here, right? Me caí de mi caballo porque estaba mensajeando mi cel. Okay, so you can see lo que yo estaba haciendo cuando algo más pasó o interrumpió, ¿verdad? So what I was doing when something else happened. And the organization doesn't really matter. You can have past simple first and then past continuous, or past continuous and then past simple. If you are studying with your friends, maybe you can do this activity. Think about your romantic partner, your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or maybe your best friend or somebody else important to you, okay? And I want you to practice answering these questions with 2 past tenses, okay? So tell me the story of how did you first meet? What were you doing? What time of day was it? How was the weather? What were you both wearing? Who spoke first and what did they say? So for example, I don't know, I met my wife on Facebook. She was stalking me. Me estaba stalkeando. And she accidentally sent a friend request. Okay? What time of day was it? It was the evening. How was the weather? I don't remember the weather. What were you both wearing? I was in Tampico, so it's very hot in Tampico. So I was probably wearing shorts and a t-shirt and sitting on my sofa online. Who spoke first and what did I say? I wrote her a message on Facebook and I said, "Te conozco," because she sent me a friend request. Okay, so I answered these questions and I used past simple, past continuous, etc. So if you want to put your answers on the Facebook group, that would be fantastic. Or if you are studying with a friend, maybe you can ask and have this conversation with a friend. Okay? But for now, I want to talk about dynamic and stative again. Okay? Remember, we're talking about dynamic and stative. So just to think, here are some example sentences, and I want you to tell me if they are correct or not. I was wanting McDonald's yesterday. What do you think? Okay, that's not correct because want is not a dynamic verb, so we're not going to use ing here. You would just say simple past, I wanted. I wanted McDonald's yesterday. We were studying English this time yesterday. What do you think? Yeah, that's fine. A esta hora ayer estábamos estudiando inglés. That's fine. She lived in Madeira for 6 years. What do you think? Now, this is okay. Grammatically, it's correct, but it's also fine and good to say she was living in Madeira for 6 years. Both of them are fine. Atlas were winning the title in 1961. Okay, I don't like this. It's not good because we're talking about a specific time in the past, and to win a title, normally it happens on one day, right? To win is an event that happens. It's not something that's continuous, especially not for Atlas. So maybe Atlas won the title in 1961. Okay. My mom was having 2 cars a year ago. Not correct because have for possession is stative. So we do not use ing. So it would be my mom had 2 cars a year ago. She was being sad when I called her. She was being sad when I called her. In this case, it's just she was sad, not she was being sad. When we use being and an emotion, it means that it's something temporary and it's something which you have control over. For example, being stupid is like acting stupid, okay? Doing stupid things. But being sad, in this case, she was being sad. It's like she was pretending, and it doesn't sound right, okay? She was sad, she was happy. She was being stupid, okay, fine. She was being aggressive, fine. But sad is just an emotion. It's not really a dynamic action. So we use stative, she was sad. To continue with the stative and dynamic theme, I want you to look at these pictures. Would you use dynamic or stative for these? Okay, imagine it's all in the past, right? A would be she was walking. That's dynamic, right? The coffee taste. Now, taste can be el sabor de algo que sabe mal o sabe bien, but taste is also a verb which means like probar in English. So are we talking about the man or the coffee? We're talking about the coffee. So we're going to say something like el café sabía mal, no? Sabe mal. So in this case, we're talking about the coffee. The coffee tasted, I think. The coffee tasted bad. Okay? If the exercise said he taste, then it would be something like he was tasting, estaba probando el café, right? But we're talking about the coffee. The coffee sabe mal, the coffee sabía mal. It was something that's a state, it's not a dynamic action. He look. Okay, look at the 2 differences here. This is look de para ser, and this is look de buscar. One of them is an action, and one of them is a state. What do you think this one is? It's a state. He looked sad, right? This guy here, the action is laugh. It's definitely an action, so it's dynamic. He was laughing. In this case, we're not talking about the woman, we're talking about the perfume. Again, smell, de olerse, huele bien, huele mal, is estado, right? It's a stative verb. But smell, de oler, is an action if a person does it, right? So look at E and look at H. In H, dice he smell. Okay, he smell. That's an action. Whereas in this case, E, the perfume, huele. Not the perfume está oliendo, right? So the perfume smelled good. F, we already said, he was looking. It's the difference between C and F. He looked, he was looking, right? G, I think we're talking about the iPod. He, have, okay, so it's possession, so it's not dynamic. He had an iPod. And then H, we're saying the difference between H and E. The perfume smells, huele, but he, the action of he was smelling, right? He was smelling the milk. And then finally I, the chocolate taste. Looks like the chocolate tasted good. Again, taste, this is the sabor, que sabe bien, no, ella estaba saboreando, no. The chocolate, we're talking about the chocolate. The chocolate tasted good. Okay, so that was past continuous for stories, again with a touch on dynamic and stative verbs. I also, because we're talking about the past, I wanted to look at used to and would, okay? This is how in English we say solía. We can say, for example, solía ir, I used to go or I would go, when we're talking about the past. Repeated actions or states. We can use used to for dynamic and stative verbs, and we can use would for only dynamic verbs. Used to is much more common in English than solía in Spanish. You know, when I'm speaking in Spanish, I don't really use solía ever. It's very, very rare for me to use solía in Spanish. But used to in English is very, very common, okay? So for example, in Spanish, it's not very common to hear somebody say solía ir al parque cuando era joven. You would say something more like iba mucho, no? Iba mucho al parque cuando era joven. It's much more common to hear that, for example, in Mexico at least. Solía is not very common. In English, you would say, I used to go to the park when I was young. And it's very common. It's very, very common to say, I used to go. Or I used to do, I used to have. I went to the park a lot when I was young. Yes, you can say that too. I would often go to the park when I was young. Because go to the park is a dynamic action, we can use used to or would for solía or iba mucho. So if I say I used to go, a dynamic repeated past action, it means that I don't do it now, okay? And stative, for example, I used to have a car. It used to be true, but it's not true now, okay? Used to, again, is much more common in English than solía in Spanish. For example, we used to have a dog. We don't now. I used to go to the gym a lot. I don't now. I would go to the gym a lot. I don't now. So when you say I used to, solía ir or iba mucho in English, basically this means that you don't do it now, okay? I went to the gym yesterday. It's just one time. No vayan a confundir. You used to and would is for repeated past actions, okay? Or past states that are no longer true. But one-time events in the past, you don't use used to. You just say regular past tense. I went to the gym yesterday. If you say I went to the gym a lot, then it's not very clear if you do now or not. It's up to you. If you want to be more specific, then you should say I used to go or I would go. But if you say I went to the gym a lot, maybe you still do. I don't know. That's fine. She used to like it. So this is a state. These are stative verbs. She used to like it means she doesn't now. She didn't used to like it. She didn't used to like it means that she does now like it. Okay? Look at the difference between used to and didn't use to. Because the didn't absorbs the past. Did she used to like it? Again, there's the question. Did she used to like it? Did absorbs the past, so used to like it. Let's have a look at some exercises. go to point number 2 in the description to open the activities. This is what the activity page looks like. Make an affirmative sentence, negative sentence, or question using used to and an infinitive. This is just used to, okay, not would. Because used to is more common. Would is not very common. I live in a flat when I was a child. I used to live in a flat, which is like an apartment, when I was a child. Let's check. Awesome. So, remember with the negative, we're going to have didn't and use, okay? He didn't used to smoke. Let's check it. Awesome. Question. Did he used to? Because again, the did absorbs the past tense. Did he used to play golf every weekend? Question. Check it. Awesome. Finish the activity and I'll see you in a moment. I hope that went well. I know it's another complication, right? Solía. Let's continue. So we can see here used to, it's much more common than would, okay? Would actually is used in conditionals for iría, compraría. In a different tense, we use would, which is why people normally use used to in past, okay? So what we tend to use it for is for things that are not true now, right? So for example, we used to have abacuses, but now we have calculators and computers, right? People used to use salt to preserve meat, but now people use refrigerators, okay? So here I have some more sentence finishers. But now people usually start working when they're 18. What could you write? But now people usually start working when they are 18. So maybe you'd say something like, people used to start working when they were 15. But now people usually start working when they are 18. So I want you to write out 3 sentences like these, okay? So select some and write out some sentences. Again, share them on the Facebook group or in the comments on this video and we will answer as a community. But now we have cars and motorbikes. But now children watch TV and movies. But now many women wear jeans. And but now we use watches and clocks. Okay, so we looked at past continuous, affirmative and negative. We looked at past continuous for stories. We looked at used to specifically and a little bit of would, but used to is more important. And now we're going to look at all of these 3 together. Here is a mega text, okay? And I have given you some options for each answer. When I was a child, my family would have, used to have, were having, or had a farm with animals on it. It's possible that more than one answer is correct, okay? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to stop the video and try to complete this activity. Select your answers and I will tell you the correct answers, okay? Right, 3, 2, 1. Here are the answers. When I was a child, my family used to have, okay, used to have a farm on it. It's also possible to say had. Had is also acceptable. Me and my brother would ride or used to ride. Solíamos montar en caballo. We would ride, we used to ride. You can also say rode, but I think here the intention is to say that it was repeated experience, okay? So would ride, used to ride. Then we, again, would play, used to play. You can say played, but again, I think we're talking about repeated experiences because here it says en las tardes, plural. So it's a repeated experience. One time. Okay, ahora sí cambiamos. Una vez, one time. So it's not going to be used to or would. One time, while my brother and I, mientras mi hermano y yo, okay, so mientras we were swimming, we saw something floating in the river. It looked strange. Parecía, because again, estaba pareciendo raro, no. Parecía raro. Like some kind of basket, canasta, algún tipo de canasta flotando, right? It was coming closer. So we got some sticks, palitos, to try and pull it, jalarlo al banco del río, to the side of the river, to the river bank. We ran back to the house to tell our parents. Corrimos a la casa para decirles a nuestros papás. My dad was milking the cows, right? He was milking the cows, and my mom was fixing a problem with the car. But when we showed them the contents of the basket, they stopped what they were doing, okay? Mi papá hacía esto, mi mamá hacía esto, pero cuando les mostramos lo que estaba en la canasta, dejaron de hacer lo que hacían, right? They stopped what they were doing. That was the day we found our sister. Eso fue el día en que encontramos a nuestra hermana. Hopefully you got 80%, 90% correct. I hope. Okay, that's everything for today. We've seen past continuous, affirmative, negative, past continuous for stories, used to and would, and we've seen all of them together. Now it's time for a song. So the song is from 2008 and it's by Coldplay. It's called Viva la Vida. I'm sure you recognize the song. I have heard, I've heard this song 100 times because of teaching English. So now I don't like it very much, but it's a good song. Coldplay, Viva la Vida. The first 2 or 3 verses, I want you to go and listen and tell me, what does he say? Would or used to? Would or used to? Okay? I'm going to tell you the answers. So stop the video and go and listen to the Coldplay song. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I used to rule the world. Solía reinar en el mundo. I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the word. Los mares se solían levantar cuando yo daba la palabra, ¿no? Como que yo mandaba, es decir. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Ahora en la mañana yo duermo solo. Sweep the streets I used to own. Yo estoy barriendo o barreo, no sé. Estoy barriendo las calles que yo solía poseer, que solían ser mías, ¿no? Estaba dominando todo, estaba encima de todo y ahora ya no. I used to roll the dice. En este caso, the dice, se me olvida la palabra. Las cositas para apostar que tienen los números, que haces así, no me acuerdo cómo se dicen. I used to roll the dice, pero en este caso está refiriendo más o menos a apostar, tomar riesgos. No está literalmente hablando de eso, de las cositas esas. I used to roll the dice, solía como tomar riesgos. Feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, sentir el miedo en los ojos de mi enemigo. Listen as the crowd would sing, escuchar mientras la multitud solía cantar. Que el viejo rey ha muerto, viva el rey, ¿no? 1 minute I held the key. Un momento yo tenía la llave y en la próxima, next minute, the walls, las paredes estaban cerrando encima de mí, ¿no? The walls were closed on me. And I discovered that my castle stand, y descubrí que mis castillos están puestos en pilares de sal y pilares de arena. O sea que no tiene buen fundamento mi poder. Está básicamente hablando de que tenía una cierta posesión, a lo mejor puede ser una persona muy arrogante o algo y que tuvo una caída muy fuerte después. Y está recordando cómo él solía ser popular. So yeah, it's not a song that I particularly enjoy anymore, but it's a good song. So that's everything for today's class. If you want to take the exam, it's in the description so you can test your understanding of all of the themes that we've covered today in the class. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to receive notifications of my videos on Mondays and Thursdays, and join the Facebook group so you can download my resources. Thanks for learning English with me, and I will see you next class.